Felix Baumgartner has become a living legend since taking the giant leap that made him the world's first supersonic skydiver. He's now officially retired from the daredevil business after shattering 3 world records. Dubbed Fearless Felix, the 43-year-old Austrian pushed the boundaries of human endurance and science with his jump. He talked to Euronews about his incredible achievement.
Felix Baumgartner, thanks for joining us on Euronews. The world has been gripped by your skydive, particularly the pictures of you in the capsule with the Earth 39 kilometres beneath you. What was going through your head at that moment?
Well, I was focused on the way up because I had a lot of things to do, and then I was climbing out of that capsule. For a couple of seconds I had the chance to enjoy that view, and it was an incredible view because it's very outstanding. It was a beautiful way to look out of my capsule, but when you're standing outside you cannot stand there for a long time because as soon as I disconnect from my ship system, I only have 10 minutes of oxygen from my bailout bottles. And when you're standing there, you realize really fast that you are in a very hostile environment. That means you have to step off fast.
So what happened after you jumped?
We knew that I'm going to go into a spin because it's just a matter of fact there's almost no air. You are almost in a near vacuum. So I knew that I'm going to over-rotate a couple of times, and it was just a question of how fast I'm going to be able to stop that spin. And I did. I had to use all my skydiving skills to stop that spin, and I did. So I really had to work well to perform in those 4 minutes and 20 seconds.
This is the spin that I've heard called a so-called death spin. How exactly do you stabilise yourself when you're whizzing round head over heels like that?
Well, the thing is, you cannot practice for that spin because either you go for supersonic or you don't. And while you're spinning, you have about 50 seconds to find out how to stop that spin. So you have to use your arms and legs, and you have to do everything gentle because you have to remember you're traveling at 830 miles an hour. So it's really hard to find out how to stop that spin, but I did.
Were you aware of the moment when you passed through the sound barrier? What was it like?
Actually, I did not know when I was passing the sound barrier because there were no signs. You know, I've been told there's going to be a shock wave going through my suit. I never saw that shock wave. So I did not hear the supersonic boom because it happens way behind you. So by the time when I opened my parachute, I did not know did I break the speed of sound or not. But when I landed, I've been told by a lot of people that I broke the sound barrier because they heard the supersonic boom on the ground.
At what moment did you allow yourself to think that you'd made it, that the worst was behind you?
At the press conference, when Brian Utley came up with the numbers, that was the first time when I heard that I broke the speed of sound. And that was a good moment, believe me.
So up until your feet actually touched down on the earth, you were still thinking, oh my goodness, something could go wrong?
No, as soon as I opened my parachute, I knew everything is over. You know, the rest was just another day in the office.
You must have pushed your body to the limit, physically and mentally. How do you prepare for something like that?
Every time when you do a base jump, a high-profile base jump, it is difficult, so I knew how to deliver if the heat is on. Plus, I have been doing a lot of testing over the last couple of years. We have done high-altitude skydives, low-altitude skydives, inside the suit, pressurized and not pressurized. We have been in a wind tunnel. We also did a full dress rehearsal inside a chamber, and we were testing the capsule and myself in terms of temperature and altitude. Then we did a manned 1 flight from 70,000 feet. We did a manned 2 flight from 90,000 feet. So actually on that day when we were doing it for real, I'm going all the way up to 129,000 feet, I was totally prepared, mentally and physically.
The jump was postponed because of bad weather, and then it took about 2.5 hours to reach the right height. How do you keep your nerves under control?
Well, it's not an easy thing, you know. This is something that I had to learn over all these years because you stay seated for a lot of hours and it's not easy. Just sitting here for 6-7 hours is not easy, and it becomes really worse if you are in a pressure suit, just breathing oxygen. The only thing that you hear is mission control or your own breathing noise. But you have to remain calm, otherwise you're not going to be successful.
You've done several dangerous stunts in the past. Why do you think you're drawn to taking these sorts of risks?
I think it's mostly, you know, I started skydiving when I was 16 years old, and I think it's the same thing. When you stay in a sport for such a long time, you want to push the limit to a certain level, you know, and this is what I did over all these years. And When you're a young skydiver, you always look up to Joe Kittinger because he's the one who set the highest and longest and fastest freefall in history, and you always look up to that guy, and I always thought it would be so cool to break that record. Never thought that I'm going to be that person, but I got that chance in 2005 and I took it.
You and your team have been preparing for this skydive for years. What were some of the most difficult technical challenges you had to overcome?
There's been a lot of difficult challenges over all these years. It has been the suit development, because our suit is based on a standard Air Force suit, and then we have to change everything because an Air Force suit is made for pilots who do everything mostly in a seating position, but I need to skydive in this suit. We also had to develop a lot of safety equipment just in case if something goes wrong, because safety was our main priority. We had to develop a capsule, a life support system in the capsule, and also you have seen all these pictures, so what we developed over all these years is a flying TV studio, and those pictures, I think they speak for themselves.
The jump was amazing, but was it more than just a stunt? What was the scientific relevance?
Well, it has not been a stunt. This has been a scientific challenge, and we gained a lot of data, and we proved to the world that a high-altitude bailout and safe re-entry is possible.
One of your team, Dr. Jonathan Clark, I believe, lost his wife, Laurel Clark, in the Columbia Space Shuttle breakup. I suppose designing a suit that could protect an astronaut at high altitude must have been very close to his heart.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was part of this whole program, and he really enjoyed working with us. And he was the one who was really interested in everything that we have developed, because what happened to his wife could have solved his wife in the future, because our suit can withstand that kind of speed, and we proved it. It was flying at supersonic speed. All the safety equipment that we have developed would keep you alive just in case if something goes wrong.
So what's your response to people who say it was a waste of money?
Well, people are always saying this, you know, but look at politics, how much money they waste. And this has been money that a private person, Dietrich Mateschitz, you know, he was raising that money by selling Red Bull over all these years, and we brought a lot of happiness to people. I mean, the whole world was watching, and that speaks for itself.
So what's next for you then?
I think I officially retired from the daredevil business, and I had a second dream when I was a little kid, and that was flying helicopters. So since 2006, I have my commercial helicopter license, and this is what I'm going to do in the future. Put my skills into public service. I'm going to work as a firefighter, mountain rescue. So again, I'm in the area, and this is where I belong to.
Well, all the best with that, Felix. Felix Baumgartner, thank you very much for joining us on Euronews.
You're welcome.